giza zimeshindwa kwa jina lake, jina hilo kuu la Bwana Yesu. Nguvu za giza zimeshindwa kwa jina lake, jina hilo la Yesu. Kwa magoti nimefika hapa, kwa maombi nimefika hapa. Kwa majeshi wana silaha ni roho wake. Nguvu giza zimeshindwa. Zote zake Mungu, ili nipate simama imara. Hata watu 1000 wakianguka karibu nami, 10,000 kuliani mwangu. Jina hilo kuu la Bwana Yesu, nguvu za giza zimeshindwa kwa jina lake. Jina hilo la Yesu, kwa magoti nimefika hapa, kwa maombi nimefika hapa. Yes, zimeshindwa. Si uchawi, ni maombi, si urithi. Silaha zake zote. Do you want us to dance a little bit, my good people? DJ, 1, 2, go! Rindaya saya, rindaya tanu, rindaya maya, rindaya vime, rindaya nguma. Siwasiki, kidogo tu, thank you very much, kidogo tu. Wastaarabu wao, nipo. Kwanza kawe. Kwanza kamukungu. Kwanza kawaya. Kali. Thank you very much, thank you. Asante sana, wapi makofi ya Mike Mbuvi. Sawa DJ, tuendelee.
Lisa honey. Ndetucia kwa muciĩ wakwa mũirĩtu njũragia kĩkotange henjio nĩ makunyamenya mũkĩhuĩrĩria mwaki mũkĩrĩa ng'ani arekire mũngĩrohia nda mũgĩcũnga kona wakĩhũngũ iyo nyakang'a mohinyie mũciĩ waku wekĩnua mbagĩceha rũgiri na mwena wa gwaku.
Joy of the Lord. working miracles. I live a life, a life, a life. For I know who I am. I'm working in power. I'm working miracles. I live a life of favor. For I know who I am. Everybody shout.
I call the meeting in order now, as we want to start. Kindly, if you don't have a seat, tafadhali tunaomba iwapo umesimama ndani ya waheshimiwa mahali wameketi, tunaomba uweze sasa kuondoka, upeane nafasi hiyo, uende kuketi. Tunataka kila mmoja aweze kukaa chini. Tunabakisha tu watu peke yake, wale wanahusika na vitengo vyetu vya runinga pamoja na wapiga picha. If you are standing in between, whether you are a security or you are a protocol or usher, we now kindly request you to take your seat. We just need only the crew members to take charge to be standing. Only the crew members. We need no movements now. All the photographers, you will maintain your positions. Now security, you can take charge. Tafadhali, ninaongea kwa lugha ambayo inaeleweka na niatumai mnanisikia na mnanipata kwa njia safi. Kama umesimama, tunakuomba uweze kuchukua nafasi. Iwapo wewe ni mtu wa itifaki ama ni asha ama wale ambao wanabaki kusimama peke yake na wanaruhusiwa mpaka mgeni wetu afike ni security. Iwapo wewe sio security, tunakuomba basi upeane nafasi hiyo. Sasa ni wakati wako uende kuchukua nafasi hiyo. Tunataka kuanza mkutano wetu. Vile vile wale waliofika kuchelewa, tulitangaza hapo awali kwamba tuweke simu zetu kwenye silent mode ama vibration. As our leaders take their seats, we still insist for those who are standing, let it be only the crew members and the security. The rest of us should be seated.
ICC mtazamaji, ni taarifa ambazo zinakujia moja kwa moja na hiyo Masampao yuko pale ICC. Chama cha Ruto akizungumza wasaidia sent
As we remain standing, I will invite a Muslim brother, Hassan Hache, to lead us in a word of prayer.
Sound check. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. Oh God, Almighty Allah, we pray to you that we have gathered here tonight to deliberate on a document that will guide these nations, the 45 million aspirations in the next 10 years or even forever. We pray to you that we guide us a big win in the 47 counties, in the 290 constituencies, the 1,450 wards, and the 280 plus polling stations. We have gathered here today to tell the world that Hazala Nation is going to win on the 9th of August 2022, which is 39 days from tonight. This is again a very important day today. We pray to you that it is the first day of Hijrah, not Hijrah, it's the first day of our pilgrimage. We have gathered here at Mecca. This nation is now live. We pray to you that we guide us. Most of us have even fasted today to pray for the 5th president of this nation, plus all aspirants. We have gathered here to talk about a document that has the voices of the voiceless, which have been gathered in the last 3 months across the 47 counties. Amen.
We still remain.
In the book of Joshua, chapter 1, I'm just going to read one verse before I pray. And it's found in the verse 8. It says, "This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success." That God our Father, as this book of the law stays in their heart, and as they walk in that path which you have given, you have promised you will give them good success and they are going to prosper. So we want to thank you and to bless you. We welcome you in this meeting now. Come, Heavenly Father, take control. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. Let's all take our seats as I invite my brother and the Director of Communication Presidential Campaign, Hussein Mohammed, to take control of the meeting. Welcome.
Thank you very much, my brother. All protocols observed as we wait for our leaders. Good evening to those joining us here, wherever you're watching us from Kenya and the world. We said that this election will be about the economy, and tonight we will demonstrate that it will be about the economy, and that the people with a plan to revive the economy will be in this room tonight. Welcome to the Kenya Kwanza Coalition Manifesto launch. Before I proceed, I want to first invite two important guests. The others still coming. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Pastor Dorcas Rigadi. Again, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mama Rachel Ruto. Okay, I want to introduce the other guests that are coming in, but first I want to invite Tracy Wanjiru to read the Hustler's Creed. For those who remember Tracy Wanjiru, she put up a spirited fight during the presidential nominations for the ticket for UDA, together with our candidate, of course, Dr. William Ruto. Let me now welcome Tracy Wanjiru to read the Hustler's Creed.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you've heard, my name is Tracy Wanjiru. I love this party so much, and I'm glad to be here to present to you the Hustler's Creed. A new nation is rising, a nation of equal opportunities for all, a nation that celebrates and rewards hard work, a nation where success is not based on who you know, not which community you belong to.
Kwa majina ni Monica Jerry Ng'ethe.
Is left behind. No one. We are not a people who wait for things on silver platters. We knock doors, chase opportunities, seize chances, and pursue possibilities. We have no entitlement whatsoever to anything. We sweat for what we get, toil for what we have, and labor for our destiny. We wake up early, work long hours, and sleep late in our shambas, our kiosks, our streets, and markets, factories, running tracks, bodas, and offices. Every single Kenyan must feel welcome on the table of our national family as a birthright and not, I repeat, not as a favor. This is how we build a strong nation, united and prosperous nation. Everyone's dream matters. Every dream deserves a chance. I repeat, every dream deserves a chance. And every dream requires opportunities and support to blossom. Our message offers a new paradigm, a chance to carve a fresh path for our country. It communicates our plan to mobilize Kenyans to change Kenya. I repeat, to mobilize Kenyans to change Kenya. The message is that all dreams are valid and all dreams matter. It is a message about bridging the opportunity gap as the pathway to build a strong and rich nation, an assurance that no matter what their dream is, nobody is going to stand in their way. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Tracy Wanjiru. I think she deserves another clap. Thank you very much, Tracy. Okay, I want to recognize now the other leaders of Kenya Kwanza who will be joining us, starting with the running mate candidate of Kenya Kwanza and UDA. Put your hands together for Rigathi Gachagua. We also have Madam Fatuma Achani, Honorable Fatuma Achani, the Deputy Governor, Kwale County. soon to be Governor of Kwale County. The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, the party leader of the National Congress. The Honorable Governor Ann Waiguru, Governor Kirinyaga County. The Honorable Senator Moses Wetangula, Party Leader, Ford, Kenya. The Honorable Alice Wahome, MP, Kandara. The Honorable Governor of Machakos County, Dr. Alfred Mutua, also party leader, Maendeleo Chap Chap. The Honorable Governor of Machakos County, Dr. Alfred Mutua, also party leader, Maendeleo Chap Chap. The Honorable Justin Muturi, Speaker of the National Assembly and party leader, the Democratic Party. And the Honorable Moses Kuria, party leader, CCK. Through the journey. And I'll start again. From Nairobi, Kenya to the world. It is my singular honor to welcome you all to this historic event. Okay. I'm being told the microphone imezimwa.
Zima yangu.
Sijui ni nani amezima.
Zima yangu. Zima yangu.
Okay, I believe I'm audible now. Good. I'll start again. From Nairobi, Kenya to the world, it is my singular honor to welcome you to this historic event, the launch of the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, the People's Manifesto. And we will tell you and describe to you why we call it the People. Freedom is coming. And why do I use the weighty words historic and freedom? While many know that Kenya was born out of struggle for freedom and resistance of the colonial rule, few understand that true freedom is yet to be achieved. Few understand why the struggle must continue to be waged until true freedom is achieved. Neither do they understand the nature of freedom that must be won. The damage done to us over that long period is what we must undo. Now, while we got independence, we did not discard the oppressive colonial governance model. We inherited and perfected it. The master-servant relationship, state capture, divide and rule, and impunity and contempt. The first liberation was to remove direct colonial rule. The second liberation was to liberate the country from one-party dictatorship and an oppressive constitution and guarantee political freedoms. The third and final liberation should be based on the correct diagnosis of what the fundamental problem is. Kenya Kwanza, through the people, has diagnosed this problem. For the diagnosis and solution, ladies and gentlemen and fellow Kenyans, I now present to you His Excellency, the Deputy President and incoming President under the Kenya Kwanza Alliance and UDA presidential candidate, Dr. William Ruto.
Thank you very much. You may take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. As we head to 9th August 2022 for the general elections. Ladies and gentlemen, to say we are in a storm is an understatement. There are not enough white-collar managerial jobs in the public service or the small corporate economy to absorb the hundreds of thousands of young educated Kenyans with middle-class aspirations. It is no longer possible to extinguish their aspirations by failing them in exams. Neither can we continue to throw crumbs at them, such as the kazi mtaani, or export a few nurses here and there, expecting that it will stem the tide as we continue with business as usual. Sooner or later, the dam will break. Ladies and gentlemen, the reality is we have 10 million Kenyans who are either unemployed or underemployed. We have a crisis of cost of living. Our agricultural productivity has not matched our population growth. The fertilizer subsidy that existed to boost capitalization of our agricultural sector was withdrawn, undermining funding to the agricultural sector. Food imports have grown from 140 billion to 360 billion this year. In context, we are spending 360 billion to import food and food items. And of course, every Kenyan knows that the price of 2 kilogram packet of unga is now 230 shillings, up from 75 shillings in 2018. As if that is not enough, we are in a debt hole. Our borrowing now stands at 9 trillion. That our public finances are not in order is something we can no longer deny. Interest rates and interest costs is now the single largest expenditure item in our recurrent budget. In fact, it has exceeded the national government wage bill, which is 550 billion, and now it's dwarfing the county government equitable share of 370 billion. We will spend this year over 1 trillion shillings on that debt servicing alone. The saying goes that when you find yourself in a hole, you should stop digging, as a principle. Kenya Kwanza is very alive to this council. The economic turbulence that we are in demand more than a manifesto that makes a catalogue of pledges that, if implemented, could push the country beyond the tipping point. It requires a credible economic turnaround plan, a plan that gives Kenyans credible and realistic hope. And that is what we have done. We have engaged the diaspora. We have engaged interest groups. We have engaged close to 95,000 Kenyans in our economic fora around the country to develop this plan. We have engaged close to 258 scholars, technocrats, economists, agricultural economists, and people of diverse persuasions. Many of those technocrats are in this auditorium today, and I want to request them to stand up. All our technocrats from the counties and from national office, they must be seated somewhere around this room. Their representatives are here. Thank you very much. We are committed as Kenya Kwanza to pull out the country from this storm. And we start with what we have. We strongly believe, from the recommendations that we've had, that the single most important asset that we have, it's important to note that we have a 19 million strong workforce in Kenya. 3 million of these people work in the corporate and formal employment. 16 million of them, which is 85%, work in the micro, small, and medium enterprise, both formal and informal. The best way to make our human resource productive is by capitalizing our human resource that is available to us. And the primary task of economic policy is development, is to mobilize and influence the allocation of capital in the manner that it generates the best benefits for the country. And these benefits include employment, equitable distribution of income, economic stability, adequate tax revenue, and of course, foreign exchange earnings. Our economic model so far, the trickle-down economic model, has failed the test of deploying capital to generate benefits in the best way possible for the country. Going back, 1967, the NCCK, National Council of Churches of Kenya, did a report. Another report was done by ILO in 1971. And also the sessional paper number 1 of 1986 diagnosed the problem and blamed the trickle-down economic model for our state of development. It also identified agriculture and the informal sector as the areas that have the highest economic returns in terms of employment and equity. When I talk about agriculture and I talk about the informal sector, it costs roughly 1 million shillings to create one job in the capital-intensive formal manufacturing sector. It costs between 100,000 and 200,000 to create one job in the informal or informal manufacturing sector. And therefore, to make policy choices when we are in the kind of situation we are, when we have 10 million people without jobs, when we have a debt crisis, and when we have a huge sector that is not working, then we have to carefully craft policy choices so that we can move our country to the next level. I will give you an example. We inaugurated a gun assembly factory in Ruto, which we built at a cost of 4 billion shillings. That factory created 100 jobs. It means it costed 40 million, to create one job. Kitui County, I want to give you the other side of the story. Kitui County created a garment manufacturing industry. Kitui County spent 168 million and created 600 jobs. So, if you do the math, it means it costed Kitui County 280,000 to create one job. That tells you that if we had invested in garment factory like Kitui County, our 4 billion would have created 14,000 jobs. So the policy choices we need to make is not necessarily how much money we have, it is the policy choices we make. Where do we invest? And that is the difference between the trickle-down economic model and the bottom-up economic model. It's as simple as that. Let me also tell you the following. Because we have a huge 16 million workforce in the micro, small, and medium enterprise sector, let me dissect for you that about 5 million of these micro and small and medium enterprise players have some form of formality, graduated. 10 million of them are actually in what we call a lottery. Let me clarify it further. Of the 19 million Kenyans, every year we inject another 800,000. Of these 800,000, 50,000 are absorbed by the corporate sector. Another 150, 120,000 are absorbed by the formal SME sector. The remainder, about 600, 700, enter a space that we can actually call a lottery. They are not sure of what to do. They don't know how much they will make. On a good day, they make 100 shillings, sometimes 200 shillings a day. On a very good day, they make 300 shillings. And on a completely bad day, the council askaris go away with all their wares and they make zero. that is the kind of situation we are in, and that is where millions of Kenyans are. In our plan, as we listened available where it creates the most employment, and that is at the bottom of the pyramid. And that is why we came to the conclusion that the bottom-up economic model was the most optimal for all our productive sectors. Our plan, therefore, has prioritized the following 7 sectors: agriculture, MSMEs, housing and settlement, manufacturing, the digital superhighway and creative economy, the service economy, environment and climate change. These are the critical sectors that we want to drive our development. I will talk about the enablers further down the road. And we have chosen these 6 sectors on the following criteria: their ability to bring down the cost of living, our intention to eradicate hunger, and the big question of creating employment, and the resultant expanding of our tax revenue base, as well as improving our foreign exchange balance, and the whole subject of inclusive growth. Those are the 6 parameters that we used to arrive at why agriculture, why housing, why infrastructure. These are the criteria we used. Let me explain to you why. For example, we believe as Kenya Kwanza that investing in agriculture will give us not just employment, it will also give us foreign exchange, it will give us, it will eradicate hunger, it will expand our incomes, it will also expand our industrialization agenda. Investing in agriculture is because also agriculture is the most competitive sector in Kenya. We have the best practices of agriculture anywhere in the world. If you go, for example, to the flower auction in Amsterdam, 25% of flowers come from Kenya, and they are competitively grown. Agriculture is equally important because it controls 50% of our economy, 25% directly and 25% indirectly. Why do we believe that agriculture is the best place to invest? Number one, increasing agricultural productivity is the secret, because agricultural productivity has not grown at the same in tandem with growth in our population. And therefore, it is very important that we target agricultural productivity. It will give us a quick turnaround of our investment, because what we need to do is to capitalize the agricultural sector. And how do we capitalize the agricultural sector? And why is it a quick turnaround? Number one, capitalizing the agricultural sector You don't have to buy the cows. The cows are already there. All you need is animal feed. You don't have to buy the farm. The farm is already there. You don't have to hire the farmers. The farmers are already there. So there is already a stock of infrastructure and resources that you can begin with. Therefore, we need to capitalize that sector so that we can provide animal feed, we can provide good quality seed, we can provide good quality affordable fertilizer, and we can provide agrochemicals. That will turn around the agricultural sector in a very short time. Let me give you an example, because it is important for us to understand where we are. We have 2.2 million dairy cows lactating at any one time in Kenya. On average, the national average is that we get 2.5 liters per cow. It's possible to stretch these cows to 10, 15, 20, we have 40, we have 50. Let's not go there. Let's just assume we double from 2.5 to 5 liters. And that doesn't take any miracle. It just takes provision of animal feed. Our technical teams have already calculated how much that will cost. It will cost 4,000 shillings per cow. If we went there, we would actually double our milk production from 5 billion liters to 10 billion liters within a year, just by providing animal feed. We would double, and the farmers who are here know we have listened to farmers in Kitale, we've listened to farmers in Embu, we've listened to farmers across the country. They are speaking the same language, animal feed. And if we doubled our milk production, we could possibly have an extra 200 billion shillings if we sold it to our neighbors. I want to say, I am not talking about buying new cows. I am not talking about getting new farmers. Same farmers, same cows, same infrastructure. They are doing it already. All we need to do is to capitalize them. Many of them don't have the money to buy animal feed. That's all. That's all. We have costed what that will cost us, and it will cost us 8.8 billion shillings. And if we deploy 8.8 billion shillings, within the year, they will return the 8.8 billion shillings and make for themselves another 10 billion shillings. We will get more people working. We will get our milk coolers working. We will get our processors working. We will get our exporters working. And the secret with agriculture is that it has the highest multiplier on matters employment. Investing in agriculture also will help us deal with the animal of cost of living. There is a paradox. Farmers, on one hand, looking for higher incomes for themselves, and consumers, on the other hand, looking for cheaper products. That's a contradiction. How do you sort out that paradox? Agriculture has the potential to sort it out for us. Investing in agriculture, a farmer who produces 10 bags today per acre because they are struggling, the same farmer can produce 20, 25 bags if we supported them with a capital to plow in time, get the correct certified seed, get subsidized fertilizer and ensure that the post-harvest challenges are managed, the same farmer in the same farm, just by capitalizing their operations, they can double their production. And when they double their production, it means they can sell at a lower price to the consumer. Therefore, the challenge of cost of living is not too scientific. The challenge of cost of living is increasing agricultural productivity, period. This whole story about Ukraine and all this is a lost cause. And I want to say the following, that if we had not withdrawn the fertilizer subsidy that was there in our Big Four plan, we wouldn't be in the crisis we are in today. It is as simple as that. If we had stuck to the plan on food security, ensuring that we support our farmers, we capitalize the agricultural sector, ladies and gentlemen, we wouldn't be where we are. It is as simple as that. I have told you already that we are spending 300 billion shillings every year to import food that we can grow locally. Let me give you an example. Edible oil alone, this year, we spent 90 billion. 90 billion this year to import edible oil, which we can get from soya, canola, simsim, palm oil. All these are not foreign crops. These are crops we can grow in Kenya. We can save enormous amounts of money of hard-earned foreign exchange if we changed our model and put in place mechanisms, which we are suggesting here. We spoke with farmers in Busia. We spoke with farmers in Kakamega. They told us they are ready to grow the oil crops. All they wanted is a sure market that if they grow, somebody will buy them. That's all they asked. That's all they asked. And for sure, if we are importing 90 billion, we can start there. We can substitute. We can tell them, instead of us importing, please grow. We have at least 90 billion we can buy. We can begin there. The same goes with rice. This year, we have imported 25 billion worth of rice. We can surely double our rice production in Kenya. It's possible. From where to Ahero and to all the other places, we can surely double our rice production, and we can reduce, we can actually grow. We are at the moment, I think, doing 18% production locally. We can do 50%. And if we did 50%, we would save 15 billion shillings of foreign exchange that we are using. And that 15 billion would go to our farmers and be in our economy. Agriculture equally will help us sort out the challenge of unemployment, investing in agriculture, because agriculture has the highest multiplier effect on the employment creation, especially because investing in agriculture means the agrochemical factories are working, The fertilizer factories are working. The value addition further the road manufacturing is working. The agro-based industries are working. And therefore, it has the highest multiplier effect in terms of creating jobs. So investing in agriculture is investing in jobs. And remember, we are trying to sort out three things. We are trying to sort out unemployment. We're trying to create jobs at any one time. We're trying to expand our tax revenue, our tax base, and we are trying to grow our export earnings, or at least save our foreign exchange. Let me also say, agriculture will also make many Kenyans, if we invest in agriculture, save on their incomes. Today, on average, every Kenyan spends 54% of their income on food. 54%. In fact, the poorer families are spending 60% of their income on food alone. And our statistics show that we spend 3 trillion shillings on food as a nation. Just imagine for a moment, if we saved just 10%, on food because we have improved our productivity. From 3 trillion, 10%, we would save 300 billion that would go somewhere else in our economy. So investing in agriculture has a bearing on what remains in your pocket. It's what remains in your pocket. Let me also say the following. Hunger is a big problem in Kenya. We have close to 2 million people who suffer hunger. Majority of them, for your information, are farmers. Majority of these 2 million people who are suffering hunger. It means they can't grow enough to eat. As Kenya Kwanza, we have worked out with our agroeconomists a package for these 2 million farmers. For us to give them inputs and make sure that they use the farm they are doing now and produce enough for them to eat and a surplus. We have a program for 5 years to invest 90 billion shillings. 30 billion shillings revolving fund and 12 billion shillings every year to support them on extension service and making sure they do the right thing. In 5 years, these 2 million farmers, once supported the way I have suggested, they will not only produce enough food for them to eat and get out of hunger, but they will generate a surplus. In total, they will create 500 billion shillings worth of product. From 90 billion. From 90 billion, they will create 500 billion. This is the 2 million our competitors want to put on handouts. Their handout program in 5 years will cost 720 billion with zero return. Our plan will cost 90 billion with 500 billion shillings return. That is the difference. Agriculture equally will stimulate our industrialization. All of you know that 50% of our entire manufacturing sector is agro-based. 40% is food and beverage, and another 10% other non-food agricultural manufacturing. So, increasing the productivity of our agricultural sector naturally influences our manufacturing and industrialization program. So, what are we going to do as Kenya Kwanza? We are going to provide adequate, affordable working capital to all our farmers, either through their farmer organization groups or cooperatives or other farmer organizations, so that we can capitalize our agricultural sector, because the single most important impediment to the productivity of our agricultural sector is capital. Number two, farmers told us across the country that they needed to guarantee their returns. Every farmer want to know that when they produce, there is a market, and that they will not get stuck with their products. So, that is where we want to go, to provide GMR, a guaranteed minimum return mechanism that is built around insurance, so that every farmer will know that when they produce, there will be a market and they will not lose. We will transform, of course, our 2 million resource-poor farmers to produce food surplus. We will reduce our dependency on basic food imports, especially edible oil and rice. Those are our two targets. And we will invest in the underperforming products, coffee, coffee, cashew nut, and of course invest in the emerging crops, macadamia, avocado, and the area of flowers, and the area of flowers and vegetables. And we will also move up the value chain. Our tea, we only value add 5% of our tea. Our strategy is to move value addition of our tea to 50% in the next 3 years. The second sector, that's agriculture. The second sector we want to focus on is transforming our MSMEs. I have given you the statistics. The statistics is that we have close to 15 million people in that space. 10 million of them hardly make 100, 200, 300 shillings. Our intervention is threefold. Number one, we want to create business infrastructure for these people. There must be markets, there must be spaces, there must be areas where business can be done legitimately, and decriminalize people's enterprises. Number two, there must be legislation to protect everybody's business. The details are in the manifesto. And number three, the single largest challenge the MSMEs face is that they pay interest on credit that none of you here can believe. Most of them pay 10% per day, which translates to 3,600 per year. Better ones pay 10% per month, which translates into 120% per year. And in so doing, their profits are eaten by just one item, credit. Our plan is to ensure through the Hustler Fund, and we have said we are going to commit 50 billion shillings every year to the Hustler Fund, so that the Mamamboga and the Boda Kai and the fellow at the kiosk and the fellow at the saloon and the good lady running a saloon somewhere can find credit that is not predatory. And these are the numbers. If we increase, because that's the net effect. The net effect is that we will increase the earnings of these 10 million Kenyans by 200 shillings per day. That is 2 billion shillings a day. And that is 760 billion shillings a year. Any manufacturer who gets 1% of that market gets 7.6 billion shillings business. So, when we say bottom up, it is not the same as bottom versus up. It is bottom up. Let me go to the third subject of housing. Housing, ladies and gentlemen, we are short of 2 million houses as we speak. And every year, the requirement is we build 250,000 houses. We are only building 50,000 houses every year. And of the 50,000 houses, only 2% are low-cost houses. The rest are out of reach to most Kenyans. The challenge is that that problem is a moving target. Every year, 500,000 Kenyans join or go into cities and towns. The rate of urbanization is 4.4%. At the rate of 4.4%, every year, 500,000 Kenyans find themselves in urban settlements. And we already have a shortage of houses. So as Kenya Kwanza, we looked at the challenge and we decided to turn it into an opportunity. We've turned it into an opportunity to do several things. Number one, of course, to create jobs. Number two is to create affordable, low-cost houses. How are we going to do it? This is how we plan to do it. First, we need to face the challenge of land. The biggest cost that goes into housing is the cost of land. We decided that we are going to do public land, or we are going to get land that is not expensive, even if it is away from the city, and provide infrastructure to get people from where it is to the city. Number two, we are going to work with developers to structure low-cost financing. Today, many developers get loans at 14, 15, 20%. We want to structure a 3% to a maximum of 5% financing for low-cost houses. The third component is we want to engage modern technology of building. We do not have to use stones. We can employ new technologies that deliver for us cheaper houses. Number four, we have to standardize housing products, windows, doors, and all the other infrastructure. Today, everybody, each one of us is building a designer house, because every house, the windows are different, the doors are different. So it's a designer house because it's all different. What we are going to do is we are going to standardize so that we can mass produce housing products. If we know that a one-bedroomed house, the size of the door will be like this, you can produce them en masse. The size of the window will be like this, you can produce them en masse. And our Juakali sector can produce these housing products en masse. That brings down the cost by almost 30%, just by eliminating the designer structures of every house. Of course, we all know designer suits are more expensive than all the other suits, and that's what we are doing. And finally, we have to structure an offtake plan, low cost, long-term mortgage. Let me tell you, my regret is that we didn't implement this housing plan that was in the Big Four, because our plan is to build 250 housing units every year, and our plan is to ensure that at least 50% of these houses are low-cost houses. We want to make it possible for a person who is paying 10,000 shillings today rent to still pay 10,000 for a two-bedroomed house, and in 15, 20 years, the house belongs to them because they are paying mortgage. It is possible to deliver a house of $1 million, maximum 2 million shillings, and therefore the mortgage can fit into the rent citizens are paying today. That way, we will create more property owners in our great country. Today, we have about 30,000 mortgages. It is our belief that we should get to 1 million mortgages in the next 5 years. The fifth item that I want to go to is manufacturing. Manufacturing is the place we are not doing well. In the last 5 years, manufacturing as a contribution of our GDP has gone down from 9% to 7%, 9.3% to 7%. That reverse is not healthy for our country. The challenge with our manufacturing is that it has always focused on capital-intensive investment rather than labor-intensive outcomes. We are focused on 5 areas in our manufacturing plan. Leather, let me begin there. It's a very sad story, let me tell you, on leather. Kenya has the 3rd largest herd in the continent of Africa of cows. 3rd largest. Do you understand? We have close to 30 million livestock. We slaughter 3 million livestock every year. We can only use 10% of hides and skin, 10%. We were in Kajiado, we were in Wajir, and the citizens there were telling us, why are you allowing us to throw away our hides and skins? It's being eaten by dogs. Sometimes we have to bury it. Sometimes we have to dispose it. In fact, disposing it has become a challenge. Meanwhile, we are importing 20 million pairs of shoes every year made from leather products, made from skins and hides of other people's cows. We are buying our own leather, then we go to buy other people's. Today, the leather industry is 15 billion, right? Thereabout, 15 billion shilling industry. We can move it to 140 billion shilling industry. Today, the leather industry employs 10,000 formally and another 17,000. We can employ 120,000 Kenyans in the leather industry. I want you to listen to me carefully. I am not talking about us importing anything. We have the cows. We are slaughtering them anyway. The only problem is that we are not making use of the skin and hides. I don't want to say it's stupid. Yeah? I don't want to say that. But you see, that's where we are. So, what are we proposing as Kenya Kwanza? We're saying we will turn around the leather industry. We will invest. The reason why we took the SGR to Naivasha is because we thought we would use it to create a big industry out of the steam that is available readily there and out of the power that is readily available there. We will create a huge industry around the leather industry. Leather products, from shoes to bags to everything else that goes with leather, will be a big, and that does not require importing nothing. We have everything here. All we need to do is to leverage on technology and bring transfer of knowledge and skills, and we are good to go. Building products is another space that we have, especially if we are going to go to low-cost housing and implement our housing plan. The whole Juakali sector will be busy generating doors, generating windows, making sure that there are enough building material products in quarries and in all the other places. Pharmaceutical industry is another space. Our budget on health is 550 billion every year. Our expenditure, let me say, our total expenditure on health is 550 billion. 20% of that is pharmaceutical products and consumables. We are only producing 20%. It is possible for us to produce 100%. We have pharmaceutical companies here. Let me tell you the story. We have pharmaceutical companies here. They are producing at half the capacity. The reason why we are not exploiting that capacity, creating more jobs in the capacity that they are using so that we can supply our own pharmaceutical products is a very big guess. Garment and textile industry. That is the other space that we have. The garment industry today, we export $500 million, which is about 50 billion of garments outside the country. When we signed into AGOA, we were supposed to produce the cotton to provide the yarn and the fabric for this export. As of today, 40%, not 40%, actually 40 billion of yarn and fabric is being imported from Asia to come and at the EPZ. I was in Kilifi last week, and the people working at the EPZ were asking me, Mr. Deputy President, we are producing garments here that we are exporting to America. we can also produce garments that can be consumed, that can be sold in Kenya. They have the technology. So that is a space we want to focus on, the whole cotton value chain, from growing of cotton, and I want to give you the good news, we are going to start growing big BT cotton in Kenya. Yes. It has higher yields, it is more drought resistant, the trials have been done, and the trials are very good. They are showing that we have very good productivity, and therefore, one more time, we will have our cotton industry up and running, and we can push that industry to another 100 billion shilling industry. I can say the same of edible oil. It's another value chain that can give us jobs. I can say the same of electric motorcycles and electric cars. That's another value chain we can develop here because we have the market for it here. We have a market of 200,000 border borders every year. That's a market we can supply from Kenya. Let me leave that there. We have huge space, good people, in manufacturing, and that is our focus. Number five, is the digital highway. We are saying it's time that we move into the digital space. That's where the whole world is going anyway. Most of our services are now on a digital platform. Very many investments are in that direction. What do we plan to do as Kenya Kwanza? We plan to do the following as Kenya Kwanza. Number one, we already have a 10,000 kilometer backbone, fiber optic backbone, that goes all the way to every sub-county. It already serves 60% of the population. Kenya Kwanza, we want to invest in what we called in electricity connection, the last mile. When we started the last mile on electricity in 2013, there were only 2.3 million connections. We now have 8.8 million connections to houses. What we will do with the internet and the digital highway is, in the next 5 years, we will extend the fiber by 100,000 kilometers. Let me repeat, so that you're clear. We will extend by 100,000 kilometers. How are we going to do it? We are going to extend it on the electricity grid backbone that already exists. Every home, every shopping center, every school, every dispensary, every hospital that is connected to the grid will be connected to the internet. And in 5 years, we will close the digital gap, and every Kenyan will have access to the internet. The many young people who today are struggling with bundles, the many young people who want to do their thing on the internet, or to make calls, or to communicate, they will have an opportunity to do so with ease, from the comfort of their homes or at the shopping center, because we already have 24,000 markets connected to electricity, and those 24,000 markets will be connected to the internet. That will be the biggest revolution ever. We have the opportunity to create close to 5,000 new SMEs. We have the opportunity to leverage on government delivery of government services. And we have the opportunity for online shopping and many other things that come with access to internet. And for your information, there is money to do it. We already have 15 billion shillings in the Universal Fund. So if we securitize the Universal, this whole program will cost about 40 billion. So if you have 15 billion, you can deliver the rest. It's as simple as that. There was a proposal by the Communication Authority to use the 15 billion to build a hotel. So I think deploying the last mile of the internet is more like it, because that is the core function of the Communication Authority. I have said, and let me repeat, every school that's on the grid, every hospital, every dispensary, every market that's on the grid will be connected. And the creative potential of our young people, the creative industry will now have the very perfect chance to be able to do their thing. The seventh space is the service economy. We believe as Kenya Kwanza that the service economy is a key factor in employment, expanding our tax base, expanding our tax revenues, and ensuring that we have foreign exchange. In that financial sector, we want to leverage on our SACCOs and cooperatives to deliver financial products, and especially credit, affordable credit, to the bottom of the pyramid. On top of the Hustler Fund, we're going to develop other packages that will make it possible for us to deliver financial products that create access to credit to the majority of people who do not have credit at the bottom of the pyramid. That way, we will expand their enterprises, and that way we will also make sure that they participate in job creation and in expanding our tax base. Under services, we also have tourism. Tourism, we are stuck at 2 million visitors for a very long time. We have to decide whether we want the sector to work for the few or to create jobs for the many. We just have to, if we continue, we have to diversify our tourism product. It cannot continue to be beach and wildlife. We have to do adventure. We have to do culture. We have to do many other areas. And we have to create the infrastructure for young people. We have to create infrastructure that is affordable, low-cost hotels, bed and breakfast facilities. We have to budget hotels. We cannot continue to sell the high-end products because it just satisfies a few people. In fact, we are so stuck there that today you have so many exclusive facilities. Some of the facilities you pay 500,000 shillings a night. How many people will pay 500,000 shillings a night? Good people. How are we going to grow our numbers? Thailand. Let me give you an example. Thailand, a country like, just like Kenya, our size, slightly more people, 70 million people, 50 million, 50 something million in Kenya. So we are almost the same. But they do 40 million tourists every year because they have created so many niches and they have made it possible for so many people to travel. We can choose to continue our tourism to be high-end, and we will be stuck at 2 million. But if we took it to 20 million, we will have more people working in hotels. We will have more people helping with the transport. We will have. So, in fact, tourism is the ultimate trickle-down model that is causing a problem in our country. We just have to turn it the other way around. It cannot continue to be the way it is. It doesn't matter what you get out of 2 million people. It's not the same as if we had 10 million people coming to Kenya. If we had 10 million people coming to Kenya, as a factor, they say for every tourist employs 3 people. So the numbers will add up. So we just have to change the model and do a better package. I know players in the industry sector may have issues with that, but I think it's time. I think it's time. Finally, let me talk about aviation. And I'm going to single out the sugar industry because that's where we have a huge crisis. But let me talk about aviation. Africa has 15% of the population of the world, but we have only 2% of air traffic, meaning that there is potential, there is huge potential for us in the air travel space. Kenya Airways was doing well up to a certain point. And I dare say that the problem with Kenya Airways and the financial challenges therein are a reflection of internal and managerial mistakes rather than market prospects. It is not the market. It cannot be the market. There is a problem with management, and there is a problem with conflict of interest, and there is a problem that we all know. Being a national asset and being a strategic asset, Kenya Airways is not an asset we would want to let go at all. And therefore, it cannot also continue to be on life support forever. We have to agree. So our commitment as Kenya Kwanza is that we are going to develop a turnaround strategy for Kenya Airways within 2 years and bring it back to what it is supposed to do. And it is possible. Our sugar industry, and I was in Mumias the other day, has suffered the brand of underinvestment. We have committed as Kenya Kwanza that aside from writing off all the debts that are owed by government, we are also going to negotiate all the other debts owed to banks and other individuals with a view of paying them off so that we can make the factories in Mumias, in Zoya, and all the other government-owned factories free of debt. And then we can then inject new capital and ensure that we have modern facilities that will be able to deliver to our sugarcane farmers the same way the private mills are doing. It cannot be that all the private mills are doing well and all the government mills are making losses. It's not possible. There must be a structural problem. Let me also talk about sports, because it's an important sector for us. We are a great sporting nation, and we need to leverage our sports to do at least 3 things. Number 1, to project our country and profile our country in a manner that we can leverage on the other sectors of the economy, number 1. Number 2, we must create a big sports garment industry out of Kenya, out of our sportsmen and women. Because everywhere in the world, if you said this shoe comes from Kenya, the sporting nation, you will get a premium price for it. And of course, we must make sure that the fund that we set up to deal with matters of sports infrastructure, which currently is being used to do other things, we have to ring fence that money. We collected, I think, 15 billion, but it was used to build hospitals instead of used to build sports infrastructure. All the resources coming from the fund must go to developing sports infrastructure. As I conclude, I want to talk about environment and climate change. We commit as Kenya Kwanza to grow 5 million acres of trees under agroforestry. We also commit to build industry out of solid waste. And we are going to begin with Sakaja in Nairobi. We're going to begin with Sakaja in Nairobi. Solid waste, apart from being an environmental hazard, we can flip it and create jobs, industry, power, and many other products, building materials out of it. That will be our focus. Let me talk about 2 or 3 enablers. One of them is going to be healthcare. We have been on the campaign trail and we have committed to the people of Kenya that we will have a universal health insurance that will make sure that every Kenyan will go to hospital and they will walk away without paying a penny after they get treatment. Let me say 4 things. The rest are in the manifesto. Let me say 4 things. We need to do 4 things. Number 1, as a matter of urgency and within our first 3 months, we will procure and put in place a state-of-the-art health integrated information management system that will make it possible for health records of every Kenyan to be portable so that you don't have to write on paper every time, and you don't have to go for MRI here, and then you go to another hospital, you do another MRI. It should be possible to make that MRI that was done in this hospital available in the next hospital, because we have. That will also assist us in making sure that we have information on the health of our country and how many people are in what category and what do we need to do, and even what kind of drugs we need to keep on our shelves. Secondly, we are going to sort out and establish a stakeholder-managed national procurement scheme for drugs to leverage on bulk purchase and also to bring transparency and accountability in public procurement of drugs to eliminate the Kwanza scandals. What are we saying? What are we saying? We are saying the following. The same thing that happens with procurement of our petroleum products. Industry, government, they come together and they procure collectively in bulk for Kenya. And that is why our oil products are the most competitive. So, Kwanza will not procure alone. In fact, we had a meeting with the health stakeholders, and they told us a simple hospital, one hospital, I don't want to mention their name, said they buy drugs as a single hospital much more cheaply than Kwanza buys, but Kwanza buys in bulk. So they were wondering, I thought if you buy in bulk, you get a lower price. But Kwanza buys in bulk, but pays more. So we are recommending as Kenya Kwanza that the same model that involves stakeholders, we are going to bring private hospitals, we are going to bring public hospitals, we are going to bring other players, and we purchase drugs for Kenya collectively, so that we eliminate all matters to do with transparency and we avoid the problems in Kwanza. We have committed, because we had meetings with health professionals and people in the professional sector, to deal with the challenge that currently exists between health professionals, and the counties and the national government. That space there is not tidy, and we have committed ourselves that we will resolve that space. Counties are saying they do not have the money. Thank you very much. And thirdly, we have worked with health professionals, and our information is that we will redesign the National Hospital Insurance Fund to make it trustworthy, to deliver on its mandate. And our analysis shows that a contribution structure where the lowest now is contributing 500. The lowest in our structure will contribute not 500 but 300. And the highest will contribute 3,000. That structure of contribution will fund everybody's requirements, and there will be no out of pocket. We will stop the harambes, and there will be no additional resources required apart from the public ones. Do you understand what you are saying? So the highest paying, like yours truly, will now move from 1,700 to 3,000. and the lowest will go down from 500 to 300. So that we can, that continuum, our estimate is that we will get a product that covers the 550 billion shillings we need to take care of our health requirements annually. Another enabler, of course, is education. You agree with me that education is in a crisis. Education, especially higher education, is in a crisis. Most of our universities are struggling. In fact, most of our universities, to NHIF, to NSSF, to pay as you earn. So, in fact, the Auditor General said the other day, all our universities are technically insolvent. That's the sorry state of our universities. So, we have to rethink what we are doing with our higher education. The proposal we are making as Kenya Kwanza is that we are going to merge the Higher Education Loans Board, the University Funding Board, and the TVET Funding Board into one unit. And this unit will be responsible for scholarships, it will be responsible for funding, and it will assess all students. Today, there are students who don't need scholarship, but they are given scholarship. So, there will be assessment so that we can close the gap. And it should be possible for us as government to also know what are the skills. Sometimes we are training people in fields that we already have a surplus. We should be able to say as a government, if it is this field we have a surplus, we cannot fund. Let us fund the fields that we have shortages, so that we can close the gaps and be able to drive our Vision 2030 the way it is. So we are going to call this organization the National Skills and Funding Council, so that it looks at the skills and it funds the skills that are necessary for the trajectory we are going into. And then finally, we will complete the construction of the 52 TVET institutions that are not yet constructed. We have 52 constituencies that do not have. We have 250 wards that do not have a vocational training center. We will do those. We will construct those also. And then we will also close the gap on teachers in our schools. We have a gap of 116,000 teachers. We have undertaken as Kenya Kwanza that we are going to hire the 116,000 teachers in two tranches, 50% year one, 50% year two. We have also undertaken that to lower the cost of education, we are going to have a special tariff for utilities, for power, for water, for internet to our learning institutions. We are going to have a special tariff. We have also said that the current program on school feeding of 2 million school-going children, we are going to expand it. And we have agreed that we are going to work with counties. We are going to double to 4 million as national government. And every county that want to match, we are going to assist them to match a shilling for a shilling, so that we can move the number of our children who have food in school to 8 million. That's our target. Statistics are very clear. We have close to 200,000 kids who are not in school, and the only reason they are not in school is that there is no food. And statistics has shown that if there is a school feeding program, the attendance and the performance is enhanced. We have agreed with the teachers that delocalization will be at the place when you are being hired. If you want to work in another county, not the home county, you will be hired at that level, and you will be paid an allowance for walking away from home. We have also agreed that the teacher continuous career development that currently is paid for by teachers will be paid for by government going forward. Finally, our youth and women are the largest component of our plan. Apart from them being cutting across all these sectors, when we are talking about jobs, when we are talking about internet, when we are talking about all this, but specifically we had engagement with the young people of this nation, and we agreed with them that there will be a youth ministry. We also agreed with them that we will have a special advisor at the presidency sitting in cabinet to ensure that all government programs and ministries are youth-friendly. We also have a special charter with women, which we have signed. And we have agreed that 50% of the Kenya Kwanza cabinet will be the women of the Republic of Kenya. We have also undertaken that within 3 months we will have a mechanism, and within 12 months we will execute and attain the 2/3 gender principle that is provided for in the Constitution. And we have agreed that women and young people who have LPOs will become automatic beneficiaries of the Hustler Fund without any further requirements. Our persons living with disability, we had an engagement with them, and I see them around. And we agreed with them that all people living with disability will be enrolled in NHIF in the first 18 months. We also agreed that integrated schools to allow children living with disability to start interacting with the general public, to restore their confidence and self-esteem. We also agreed that we increase capitation of pupils living with disability by another 50% and set aside 15% of public-funded bursaries set aside for pupils living with disability. Let me also, we will continue the program we have on roads, complete first all the stalled road projects, and reassess in accordance with the proposals that were made to us in the county forums. In the county forums, several roads were suggested that would make the economies of those counties work better. We will work with the counties and the county priority roads so that we can go into the future with the road infrastructure that is there. And then finally, I will go to governance. And before I go to governance, let me speak to something about water. Water is very important as a principle. We have sat down with experts and we have agreed that this time round we are going to have a different strategy of deploying water, especially from the big dams. We have 57 dams that we already identified as government last term. We have changed, or we have agreed to work on a different strategy of delivery. The same way we have power purchase agreements, we are going to work on water purchase agreements so that we can bring the private sector on board. There are many people who are willing to invest in our huge dams or even in underground water. For example, the Turkana aquifer. There are proposals from the private sector that if we give them a water purchase agreement, they will be able to invest their own money. And the same way they sell us power, they can sell us water. So we believe that that is the future to delivery of water from big dams, so that it leaves government to work on climate smart water harvesting initiatives, water harvesting programs, implement policy that will ensure that we harvest and harness all the water that we can as we work with the private sector to deliver water from our aquifers and from our large dams. Finally, then I will take a few questions. Let me go finally to governance. We are the team that will complete the implementation of the 2010 Constitution. We believe that rather than mutilate the Constitution for political expediency, there is a lot that needs to be completed in terms of implementing the 2010 Constitution. Kenya Kwanza will end political weaponization of state institutions. This includes the criminal justice system, tax authorities, anti-corruption institutions, and the entire security apparatus. We want these institutions to operate independently as is expected of them by the Constitution. In our first 100 days, we will implement the constitutional requirement of a police service commission to have its own budget and its own accounting officer. We do not believe that the police should be begging for money from the office of the president. The police should run its own independent budget with its own accounting office. The saying, "He who pays the piper calls the tune," is the current problem with our criminal justice system. We are also going to operationalize on our first day in office the Judiciary Fund, and as established by the Constitution. We believe the judiciary must be independent, operationally, constitutionally, and financially. The 2.5% of the budget required to run the judiciary will be made available to the judiciary. so that the judiciary can run its course, deliver justice, and do so in a timely manner. Because justice delayed is justice denied. Kenya Kwanza will end all unauthorized evictions and property demolitions. The kind of spectacle we see in Kariobangi and Korogosho is not only inhuman, it is unconstitutional, and it should never be allowed to happen to any other country. Kenya Kwanza will end ethnic profiling in the issuance of identity documents. And we will specifically establish an administrative appeal tribunal to ensure a fair and transparent process in the registration of persons with clear appeal procedure of not more than 14 days if a person is denied registration. Of course, we will appoint all the judges nominated by the Judicial Service Commission to the Court of Appeal. Of course we will. And we will do it within 7 days. Kenya Kwanza will ensure that we respect, we protect, and defend freedom of worship. We will lift the existing moratorium on registration of new religious organizations and expedite the registration processes. We will complete the transfer of all functions constitutionally earmarked as devolved functions to counties within 3 months. And we will strengthen the intergovernmental institutions of Council of Governors, IBEC, the Summit, and make sure that they meet regularly. We will, of course, respect the devolved system of government and review the formula for sharing national resources between the two levels of government and allocation of the revenue by either level of government to take into consideration population and other factors provided for under the law. On public service and our security services, we will ensure that there is a contributory benevolent fund for families of fallen and terminally ill officers, including mental illness. We will harmonize affordable housing mortgages similar to that of the judiciary and parliament to be available for our public service and the police. We will ensure that there is horizontal transfer options for people in service with the rest of the public service. It should be able to transfer your services between the police, public service, the civil service, so long as they are the same cadre. We'll ensure that there is an insurance cover for loss of life while on duty for all police officers, similar to that of the military. Security sector reform is good for everyone, and police reform efforts must not be wound back. Therefore, we will ensure that within the first 100 days, the Kenya Kwanza administration will commission a review that will consider improvement of remuneration and terms of service for all officers in the security sector to be commensurate with the current cost of living. And finally, we will deploy robust, creative, and engaging foreign exchange policy to raise Kenya's profile as a regional anchor state and amplify our partnership with the rest of the world, including Africa, USA, China, Europe, United Kingdom, India, among other partners. We will give a place of prominence to the role of Kenya's diaspora, including a ministry to take care of diaspora issues. Kenyans are rightfully skeptical of lofty promises and seemingly well-crafted plans that never get implemented. We have developed this plan, well aware that this plan will stand or fall on implementation. We believe that the implementation plan outlined in this manifesto will demonstrate to Kenyans that this plan is rigorously appraised and financeable within the resources constraints that we face. Thank you very much.
Freedom is coming
Right, let's take our seats again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Another round of applause for His Excellency, the Deputy President, and Kenya's 5th President, inshallah. Let's get a few questions now from the audience, and we'll start there. Dennis.
All right. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name is Charles Karondo from Keharo, Murang'a County. And first of all, I really want to congratulate you for the great plan that you have shared with us today. Before I ask the question, I also want to note that today I feel it for the IBC chair, because wherever he is listening to this speech today and the manifesto, he must really be having a hard time restraining himself from converting this into an inauguration ceremony and just swearing in the 5th president. Now, Your Excellency, my question goes on the issue of health. I have heard you mention in the plan something to do with Harambes. And as a young leader, and on behalf of the so many leaders who are here, and the people listening and watching us today, I am sure 90% of the people seated here today are in one WhatsApp group or another that has something to do with medical bills. I am sure some are actually being added in WhatsApp groups as we sit here. In our villages, Your Excellency, I am sure there are Harambes that are organized for this weekend for hospital bills that are in millions. Also, Your Excellency, we have so many people who are missing the basic right of mourning their deceased ones because they are struggling with hospital bills, bodies of their deceased ones being held in hospitals for months, some even for close to a year. Now, Your Excellency, my question is, as a Hustler government, as a Kenya Kwanza government, what plan do we have? Because some of these people already have NHIF cards, some of these people religiously pay for NHIF, but today they are struggling, especially with cancer and other chronic diseases. So can you give us an assurance that we will not have this kind of harambes, that people will have the freedom to at least not bother about struggling with hospitals to get bodies of their deceased ones? Asante sana.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Precisely the reason why we are discussing this matter. If NHIF was working, we wouldn't be having a discussion about this. We are having this discussion because NHIF, as it is not working. And that is why NHIF is not working for different reasons. Number one, NHIF as it is today has too many exclusions. They will tell you if you are suffering from cancer, you are excluded. If you are suffering from hypertension, you are excluded. If you are suffering from a terminal disease, you are excluded. Those are the exclusions we want to get rid of in our new plan. So that when you have the NHIF card, and for your information, it will be in, we have organized it in 3 layers. The primary service, which will be in up to level 3 hospital, will be paid for fully by public resources. We've also made sure that we turn it around. Today, many people before even any diagnosis, they go to a level 4 hospital. We want to make sure that we invest more in preventing, going to the dispensary, going to the health center, and making sure there is medical personnel at the health center and there is medicine at the health center. The reason why people do not go to the health centers, and in fact there is congestion in level 4 hospitals, is because there are no personnel in the dispensary. There is no medicine in dispensary. We want to make sure under this plan, and that is why we are saying we are going to have an integrated health management system that makes sure that every dispensary and every health center not only has staff, but also has medicine. If we did that, we would remove the congestion in Kenyatta National Hospital, because people with flu are now going to Kenyatta Hospital. People with minor injuries are going to big hospitals. So we want to remove the congestion, and that is the difference we are going to make by ensuring that we have a health management system that is integrated, and we also procure drugs in a manner that is going to give us leverage in terms of cost, and also ensure that the whole exercise is stand upside down. We do more of preventive and less of curative. At the moment, we are doing more curative and less preventive. And it's because of the structure of the current health provision system. Are we together? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. We have another question from that side. Okay, go ahead.
Your Excellency, my name is Njokiwa Madira. I come from Madira constituency. I'm also a university student at JKUAT. So the digital era has transitioned our physical classes into online classes.
Correct.
And one of the main challenges that you're having is access to affordable internet.
Good.
You've talked about, okay, the strategies that you have on how we shall close the internet connectivity gap, but will this internet be affordable? Will it be possible to have cheap bundles? Then another question is on government websites. The government websites, they don't provide adequate information. What's your plan on that? For instance, if you log into treasury.go.ke, you can't even understand the difference between the State Department of Planning and State Department of Finance. The last question is on Hustler Fund. You promised to give us a Hustler Fund of at least 50 billion. Will this fund be accessible to university students? We want to do business. We want to be in a position to buy our own food and our own stuff. We don't want to request you for a campus feeding program. Yes.
First of all, we will make sure under the program we have on the merger, we'll make sure that you get enough scholarship to buy food. So you may not need the Hustler Fund to buy food in the university, because we will make it work. The problem at the moment is that the scholarship you are being given is way below the living amount that you require to stay in college. So that's why you have to hustle around to close the gap on food. We will make sure that that is closed by making sure that we deploy resources. We have actually undertaken that we will double the Higher Education Loans Board Fund, so that not just more students can access it, but you can access the full scholarship. Many people are on half scholarship and that kind of thing. That's number one. Number two, you have said whether the Hustler Fund will be available for even university students. We have said the Hustler Fund will be available for everybody who has an idea. In fact, we've said even the people who are working online, if you have developed an app and you need some money, there will be available crowdfunding, there will be available venture capital, there will be available. That Hustlers Fund will go all the way. In fact, we might ring fence a percentage of the Hustler Fund to help people in the digital space so that they can actualize their enterprises which are in the digital space. Bundles. If you go to a facility where internet is, there is internet, you do not need bundles. You know, we will make sure that, you know, what we are trying to do is the same way we do a road to a place. That is, we want to do, that's why we are calling it the digital superhighway. We want to make it available for free. In every market, in every school, in every hospital, so long as there is connection to the grid, every place that's connected to grid, you will have internet available in that space. And it will be government funded. It will not be delivered by Safaricom. It will not be delivered by the telecom or the other facilities. It will be delivered by the government of Kenya.
Okay, we have a question from this side.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Susan Mwende from Runyenjes constituency. The national chairperson was Super Ruto. My question is, what is your Kenya Kwanza plan on fighting corruption? Secondly, myself and many other youths are on CLB listing. What is your plan?
You have heard me, my dear, loud and clear. We have said, as Kenya Kwanza, our strategy on fighting corruption is in depoliticizing and removing the weaponization of our criminal justice system, and instead building those institutions, the capacity of those institutions, whether it is the DCI, whether it's the EACC, whether it's the entire police force. We want them to have an independent budget. We want them to control their budget the way they know how. We want them to investigate every incident without hindrance and without looking back and without anybody telling them that if they go this way, they will not get funding. That is why we are removing this Office of the President Accounting Officer in charge of the police. We want the police to do their thing on their own. That is why we are saying the judiciary should have financial independence, so that the judiciary can rule any way they want on any case without bothering whether they will get funding or not. That is our strategy on fighting corruption. And number two, you have had statements, political statements. Oh, we are going to have the COVID billionaires arrested in 20 days. We are going to jail corrupt people. Those are political statements. Anybody who is serious about fighting corruption should be building the institutions that fight corruption. As Kenya Kwanza, we want to build these institutions to the level where if the president is corrupt, the system will have him arrested and jailed. As simple as that. That's what happens. That's how the president of Korea was arrested and jailed. It's because the system worked. It is not the president wanted. It is not because the president decided. If it was the decision of the president, would you think she would have been arrested? So a system where the president still can decide who is arrested and who is not arrested is not a system that works. It is as simple as that. Did I answer the other question? CRB. Wow. We have said that to alleviate the problem of CRB, maybe I can ask Mutua to say something about CRB. To elevate, let me do it first. To elevate the problem on CRB, we have said that the challenge of CRB is that today, many of the people listed on CRB have borrowed money either from Shylocks and largely Fuliza and the other predatory lenders. In fact, we have said as Kenya Kwanza, we are going to, if you look at our manifesto, we have said that we are going to have a consumer protection mechanism so that predatory lenders that charge interest rates that are unreasonable and punitive are excluded from the financial market, so that too many people don't end up in CRB over credit or over loans that they acquired that have impossible interest rates. So we are also going to protect consumers, whether it is consumers of financial services or whether it's consumers of other items, to make sure that nobody takes advantage of the people of Kenya. Yes, Alfie?
You know, the problem we have in our country is that life is very difficult. Everything you try to do, there is a block. Somebody is always blocking you. There are documents to be filled. You cannot be able to get access to the youth fund. When you're going to fill youth fund documents, it's like filling out, even somebody with a PhD finds it very difficult to fill those documents. It's difficult. when you're going to get passports or other documents, it's difficult. Life in Kenya becomes very difficult. So one of the things that Kenya Kwanza wants to do is to make life simple. When you make life simple, when you know you can access a youth fund, when you have other access of finance, then you do not find yourself in the quagmire of the CRB. And then also, we need to be in a country that is also realistic. When people get into business, especially young people, yes, they are going to default. There are going to be problems and a few problems. I have met people in Machakos and other places. People are just trying to be shoe shiners already in CRB. People are suffering. Watu, hakuna mtu yuko na simu moja siku hizi, kila mtu ana simu tatu. Anakuambia tuma kwa hii, usitume kwa hii, because it's all about fuliza. So as Kenya Kwanza, and we've had the manifesto, it's about, as we lower the cost of living, we want to make the life of Kenyans bearable. You want to be able to wake up in the morning, go out, do your thing, work hard, and you'll get a return at the end of the day, and unaweza jienjoy. And that's where it comes down to. So hii shida ndogo ya CRB, hiyo itaenda wakati Kenya Kwanza itakuwa kwa ofisi.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have another question from this side.
Good evening, everyone. Your Excellency the Fifth, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Senator Ambrose Lasoi from Nakuru, and I am the Kenya Kwanza PWD Aspirants Chair. I have a question, and I'll take you back to Higher Educational Loan Board. I want to know the plan of Kenya Kwanza on the repayment of help, especially to scholars who don't have anything and they want to pursue their second level of their studies. And on this case, Your Excellency, we have persons with disabilities who want to continue with their education, especially on master's program, and I want to take that case on my example. I went to KU some 3 years ago, wanted to take my master's program, but they didn't offer me. But they directed me that the only program I was supposed to take on an outside country, that is Liverpool University, and they admitted me there. I have deferred 3 times. I cannot access help loan, I cannot access CDF, I cannot access any other scholarship. Why? Because the program is for persons who live with visual impairment or blind. I want to know, what is your plan as Kenya Kwanza to help persons with disabilities who don't have their programs in Kenya universities and maybe in the other outside countries? Thank you. And how are you going to pay the debts?
Thank you. First, we have, we have, as Kenya Kwanza, we have said, one, we are going to double the allocation to Higher Education Loans Board to remove the constraint of them trying to allocate scholarships. The constraint was how much money they had. With the increased allocation to Higher Education Loans Board, I am sure they might consider your application this time favorably. We have also undertaken as Kenya Kwanza that the interest charged on higher education loans will be waived. There will be no more interest paid. It is said that currently you have to pay 4%. We have said that 4% will be waived. The Higher Education Loans Board will be, loans will be interest free. Senator, I hope I answered your question. Thank you very much.
Okay. One more question.
Your Excellency, my name is Lemayan. My name is Lemayan from Baringo South, Ilchams community. My question is, I have 2 questions. One, what is the place of the minorities in your government? Having in mind, where I come from, Ilchamus community go towards in a county, but the number of times I've seen my governor launch projects there cannot be mentioned before this platform. Number two, what is your plan to pay the national debt when you take over that keeps rising? Thank you and may God bless you.
Thank you very much. On the issue of minorities, I think I will ask my good brother Moses Wetangula to say something on the minorities. And on the issue of debt, I'm going to say something, and then I'm going to ask my good brother Musalia, who is a guru in that space, to tell us the how.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. First, I must salute you for your superb delivery this evening. I think it's succinctly clear. Now, any society, Kenya included, and more particularly Kenya Kwanza, will be judged on its performance in the manner it treats and handles its disadvantaged people, PWDs, minorities, our women who have been neglected for a long time by punitive laws, our youths who are discriminated, and so on. So Kenya Kwanza will have a deliberate, positive, affirmative action in every respect to ensure that those who have been left behind because of historical prejudices and injustices are lifted to a level where they feel proud being Kenyans. Whether you are an Ilchamus or James or whatever, in many places we come from counties where we have minority communities, either the migrant minorities or the minorities because their numbers don't match with the majority communities. We have enough law, we have enough provisions in the Constitution, and what has been lacking is the will to enforce and implement the law. Kenya Kwanza will have zero tolerance to discrimination of whatever form, in whatever manner, against anybody. And that is what we will do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the subject of debt, you remember I said here we are 9 trillion shillings in debt. Our repayment this year is going to be more than 1 trillion shillings. And that's not a small matter. In fact, if we don't check on debt, shortly we will just be budgeting to pay debt. And that's it. So, as Kenya Kwanza, the plan we have here, you heard me specifically say 3 things. Create jobs or employment, expand the tax base, and grow tax revenue. That is the strategy of our plan. As we grow our agricultural sector, we are focused on growing revenue, tax revenue. We are actually focused on expanding the tax base. The 10 million people, we want to enable them to do business. Our idea is we want them to have money in their pockets so that they can buy goods and we can be able to get tax revenue. The strategy on digitization is to increase traffic in business so that we can get revenue. The strategy on manufacturing is so that we can do jobs, we can expand the tax base, and we can also increase tax revenue. So the whole strategy we have made here is supposed to increase our tax revenue. And finally, as Kenya Kwanza, and you have asked a very important question, we are targeting how we are going to get a quick return on the investments we are going to make. That's why I told you earlier, we are investing in agriculture because we know in 6 months, in 1 year, we will get a return from it, which means we can be able to invest elsewhere and pay our taxes. and pay our debts. And finally, in the body of our manifesto, we have a strategy on how to take our tax revenue from 1.8 trillion to 3 trillion. Let me tell you how. At the moment, for example, we are collecting 52% of collectible VAT at the moment. In other words, we are collecting 3.6% of our GDP from VAT. We want to double that. How are we going to double? By collecting every collectible VAT. How are we going to do it? Rwanda, 5 years ago, went the digital way to digitize all their payments. They were at 4%, collecting VAT as a percentage of their GDP. They are now collecting 8%. South Africa is collecting 11%. Kenya is collecting 3.6%. So we will embark on a computerization and digitization process that currently cannot happen because of conflict of interest. It cannot happen today because there are people in big places who do not want to pay tax. They want to keep exempting themselves from paying this tax and paying that tax and paying the other tax. So our position as Kenya Kwanza is that we are going to digitize especially the collection of VAT and the whole space of our economy. By so doing, I promise you, we will collect another 450 billion that today we are not collecting. And if we collect another 450 billion, we will again collect another 150 billion that we are not collecting on corporate tax. So we can easily, just by doing computerization, we can move our tax revenues. And I want to commit to the people of Kenya that in 3 years, we should be at 3 trillion. President Mwai Kibaki showed us that it is possible by closing loopholes to be able to drive your revenue collection. He did it fourfold, almost fivefold. We can double, at the very least, revenue in 5 years. That will give us more space for us not only to retire debt, because for your information, 70% of the debt we have is domestic debt. We borrowed from banks here. That's why ordinary business people cannot be given money by banks. Why would a bank risk giving a trader money when they have free money from the government? Because if government is giving you 12, 13%, why are you going to lend to Washira? And with all the risks. That's why the private sector is starved of financing today, because government is borrowing domestic. So our strategy is to grow our tax base so that we increase our tax revenues and also close loopholes and digitize so that we can collect all collectible revenues, especially VAT and corporate tax. That way, we will have not only resources to run our affairs, but we will also have resources to retire our debt. And lastly, as I said here, we are already in a hole. So the first thing we will do is to stop digging. If you read the newspaper, yesterday, it said we are borrowing 2.5 billion shillings every day. So the hole is still So we'll stop digging first. I will ask my good brother Musalia to say the balance.
Thank you, Ndugu Deputy President. I just want to pick up from where you have touched, to stop digging. One of the critical areas is to make sure that the programs we are talking about are within the confines of a balanced budget, so that we can cut down on the desire or the appetite to borrow. The Deputy President has given examples of how we can grow revenue, but on the other side, we must make sure that we start working towards curtailing these huge budget deficits that we have, so that we can tame this issue that we call debt. And he has given you
our plan.
The profile. You have the domestic debt, and then you have the external debt. Both have inherent risks. The domestic debt cripples the economy, cripples lending, and so forth. The external debt can also put you into a lot of difficulty when the exchange rate is in trouble, and we are beginning to see a bit of that now. The central bank is rationing foreign exchange, and we are beginning to see our importers beginning to have trouble in getting raw materials for their factories. So we have to work on that basis. But I want to assure you, and the Kenyans who are listening, that there is also honor in making sure that you settle your obligations. So we as a Kenya Kwanza government will make sure that we honor our obligations, because these are sovereign debt. They may have been entered into difficult situations, but primarily we must be a country that pays its debt. And as Kenya Kwanza, we intend to do just that. Finally, let me highlight that within the Kenya Kwanza fraternity, there is Honorable Sakwa Bunyasi. Sakwa Bunyasi is seeking to be governor of Busia. He's an economist. He has worked with the World Bank. And Sakwa Bunyasi has actually brought a bill which was deliberately delayed until Parliament has gone into Senate die, which was to tackle the issue of transparency and better risk assessment and management of our public debt. When we take over, we will make sure that that bill finds its way to the floor of the House. And just something that the Ilchamos young man mentioned, I wish to remind you, maybe you are not there, that we went with the Deputy President Ruto to Baringo, and we were guests at a gathering of the minorities, the Ilchemos. And it's good to also note that in the Deputy President's office, he has an officer who is dedicated to looking into the issues of the minorities. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There will be a
Maybe
question.
we can take another two or so questions.
And in succession, please.
Yeah, we would like to ask 3 questions from this side, so you will get all of them, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name is Jane Putunoi from Laikipia County. I have 3 questions, and thank you very much because you have presented very well your manifesto.
Sorry, Jane, kindly just ask once to give a chance to the others, please.
Okay. So I have 1 question, or 2. Yes. 1, I've heard you talk about tourism, But I've not heard you talk about conservation tourism that is being dependent so much by the people from the north.
The second one?
The second one is about the large, what is your policy or our government policy about the land that is being owned by individuals, big chunk of land that is being owned by individuals. The other issue, and the last one, Your Excellency, is about the port. We have heard stories that the port is already gone. What is your...
Excellency, just before you answer, please take this.
I'm Kellen Karemi from Meru County, and my question was to our fifth president. What's your plan to separate the powers between the three bodies, the parliament, judiciary, and executive? Another, it's a request, Mr. President, for I can call you Mr. President, about mental health. You see, in our forces, police are killing others, and even in our homestead, there are so many homicides. I would request that all institutions, when you take this government, that you employ at least 5 psychologists in all institutions, schools, colleges, and police, maybe forces, at least to help them to have coping skills for mental health issues. Thank you.
And finally, from this side.
Thank you very much. Good evening, all of you. I really appreciate how our fifth president has paraphrased everything. My question is on, you are in Mandera the last 2 weeks, and there is a question we also ask you on matters of security. It's like extrajudicial killing. That was the agenda we have talked about the whole night, and you are aware. And one as Kenya Kwanza, I am also a cadet, MP cadet Mandera West, but when I go back, my people will ask me on matters of security that was discussed on national TV. So I need to make it clear so that my people will understand these things on air, that matters of extrajudicial killing, where our people, where our people just disappear within an air, we cannot find our colleagues for the last several years. And in the end, we found them in forest and other places. So I want to ask Kenya, what is our question? The other issue on the Hustler Fund, please, Hustler Fund on 50 billion. My people would like to benefit on that fund. And of course, what is as Muslims or as our religion, we are not allowed to take interest. Is it a free interest, or is there interest in that billion? Even we are learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will make the Hustler Fund Sharia compliant. So you don't have to worry about that. And we are actually going to make sure that it is devolved and it will be operationalized at every ward. It will not even be at the county. It will not be at the constituency. The Hustler Fund operating unit will be at the ward so that many people can have access to it. So your people, your great people will have access. I know you are worried about your people. So let me ask JB Muturi to tell us about the separation of powers. Somebody has asked here about the issue of the legislature and how we are going to work around that. I will ask Rigathi Gachagua to tell us something to answer the question on the police and homicides and that kind of thing and what needs to be done. I will ask And also, maybe you can also take up the question of, I think that was answered. We actually said that Kenya Kwanza will end extrajudicial killings. Number one. Number two, we will go further. We will establish in law a Coroner General Office that will make sure that complaints against people who disappear are investigated. And those who make those people disappear, whether they are security agencies, are held to account, or whether it is any other person. So I think on that issue we have, I will also ask Anne Waiguru to tell us something about conservation tourism, which is one of the issues there. And then I will ask Moses Kuria to say something about the port, and then I will ask Alice to tell us about, she knows our strategy on compensation of absentee landlords and the commitments we have made. So, and Alice Wahome. So let us start with, I think we start with Alice. Can we start with you, Alice? Huh? Oh, JB, oh, sorry. Sorry, no, it's okay. It's okay, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Your Excellency. On absentee landlords, and there are many, and especially in our coastal regions, and even some areas here in Nairobi and elsewhere, I have interacted with some of our proposals from the regions regarding the subject, and the proposals and solutions also being offered from the people themselves is that the government can take up a very quick, in-depth, detailed audit so that we can establish where these landlords are, if they exist, the amount of land by way of acreage that is held by the so-called absentee landlords, and then the government will take stock of that. Most of the times, the solution given by the people themselves is that the government can buy the land and redistribute to the people at the cost of government, because there is a cost to the land staying idle. We are not farming on it, we are not doing any economic activities on it, and therefore the question of even paying lease fees is not sufficient. We would rather utilize the land. I hope that answers to some extent.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alice.
So,
I think the question has been ably answered by Alice. The commitment we have made as Kenya Kwanza is that we are going to buy 1 million acres of the absentee landlords' farms and make it available for settlement by people who are currently living as squatters. It is not right, 50 years after independence, that we have Kenyans living as squatters. The same way that we did at independence, this is another moment where we are going to spend public resources to buy land and settle Kenyans who are living as squatters. I think that is, with clarity, our intention. And this was brought mainly by the people from the coast region. But I can see it is spread elsewhere. JB Muturi can now respond to the issue of the management of the separation of powers.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and the questioner. I want to begin by saying that Kenya is not unique in practicing a system where there's the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. But we become unique in how
the three arms relate. I want to begin by appreciating the commitment that Kenya Kwanza has made, and if you read through the entire document about this issue of separation of powers. His Excellency has already stated categorically that we'll operationalize the judiciary fund so that the judiciary does not have to keep looking behind their backs to know what decisions to make in which disputes. Indeed, Kenya Kwanza in this manifesto has committed to strengthening the Chapter 15 commissions, both financially and operationally. That speaks to the respect, the high respect that Kenya Kwanza intends to give to the whole gamut of the subject of separation of powers. I'm aware that many people are quite apprehensive, Your Excellency, because the President is elected through a political party and will have members of Parliament who, as you have seen, tend to be sometimes swayed to vote in a particular way. But I want to state that the commitment that has been made by His Excellency the Deputy President with regard to operationalization of the independence of various institutions is commitment sufficient enough to ensure that there will be no question of anybody saying that this one is extending their mandate to the functions of the other. But it is also something that we cannot run away from, the fact that His Excellency has a range of policy matters contained in this document, which will require legislation. Legislation will be originated from various government ministries, but it goes to Parliament. His Excellency the President, as we believe is going to be, has committed it is up to Parliament to go and debate, because the members of his party know the commitments that we have made to the people of Kenya, so that the policies are implemented through legislation. That should not be seen as interfering with the operations of Parliament. Parliament will still have its own way, but remember, whatever laws that Parliament will pass also to be ascended to in order to become law by the President. But I want to give a commitment, as His Excellency has stated, that this manifesto, if you read through, you will see the high commitment, the heavy commitment about the rule of law and the separation of powers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, JB. Very well put. We are believers in building institutions. Kenya Kwanza does not believe in personality cults. We believe in institutions. We will promote and respect Parliament as an institution. We will promote and respect the judiciary as an institution, because it is only by so doing that we can build institutions strong enough to support the kind of program that we want. And I was once told that the best way to support an institution is to criticize it when it goes wrong. So we will be open to criticism from any quarter. And we will also point out to other institutions when we see they are not doing the right thing. And that is the nature of democracy. But we will ensure that every institution has what it takes to discharge their mandate in accordance with the Constitution. Let me request Anne Waiguru to speak to us on the subject of We spoke about tourism and the products we want to change. Maybe you can say something about conservation tourism.
Thank you, Your Excellency. On conservation tourism and generally on the tourism sector, you have heard at this point in time we have been stuck at about 2.5 or so million tourists coming to the country. And also we have a limitation in the advancement of local tourism. And our conversation is not just limited to conservation tourism, which I would understand you meant conservation of wildlife, but also we have conservation of our natural resources, of our wetlands, of our forests, and these are sectors that we would want to explore with regard to tourism. But broadly, even beyond that, we would want our tourism sector to expand to focus on other things, adventure tourism, agricultural tourism. For example, if you go to South Africa, their largest contributor to tourism in South Africa is actually tourism to the wine farms. We have coffee farms, we have farms that grow rice and etc. So what is the strategy? The strategy is to provide incentives that make it possible for people to provide services that will encourage people to go and tour and participate in those areas. Like, for example, in your area where we're talking about the Savo, or if it's the areas where we have wildlife, the government would provide security, ensure that those people who are coming for tourism in that area feel secure enough to go and explore. But we also will provide incentives as the government to small businesses, individuals and communities that organize this tourism in their areas, giving them incentives on the revenue that they get, ensuring that they have enough tax incentives so that they are willing to put up structures similar, allow me to use the word without necessarily branding, to use the structures like the Airbnb that young people used to book. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you will go and stay in a 5-star hotel, but communities can provide accommodation, for example, where you go and experience how that community lives, how they interact with the wildlife, how they interact with their community, how they conserve their communities, their way of life and their culture. So that incentive structure and ensuring that there is adequate security, and also providing incentives so that communities that are not very well off can provide for the middle and lower class to be able also to go for these tourism excursions, so that instead of spending 10,000 shillings a night, we can have groups, whether it's from university, young people, people from our communities leaving our counties and going to, let's say, the county in like Kipia, and the young people are secured, they're sure that the government is providing adequate security when they go, for example, live with the community, camp out there, find these facilities, because there will be internet. Some of the things that this internet is going to help us do is that you will be able, those people will be able to market the services that they provide, so that you know that they exist, so that you can actually book them and go there. So all these are interrelated with the provision of also the last mile internet connectivity and whatever it is that is going in the tourism sector. Allow me, Your Excellency, to just add one thing on another issue that I think we discussed, and I just want to draw an interlinkage with the issue of debt repayment. Right now we have a problem, a shortage of the foreign exchange. And I just thought it's important that we mention that when you talk about the agricultural sector, and you say that you're going to increase, the production, say, of rice. Right now, the importation of rice, wheat and palm oil, the amount of money that we use to import is about 25% of the foreign exchange that we use foreign exchange that we get in exportation.
Yes.
Now, if we grow the agricultural sector, I just want to show the linkages. If we increase the production of rice in Mwea, for example, from the current 110 metric tons to, let's say, 220,000 metric tons, you will have enough foreign exchange freed that can go to the contribution of the payment of the debt. So I just thought it's important that I mention so that people know that this plan, the Kenya Kwanza government has a plan that has been very well thought out. It's very comprehensive. We have tried to simplify it, but there is actually a plan that interrelates in various value chains, and all of that will result not just in us being able to manage our debt, but also improving the cost of living and contributing greatly to economic growth. Thank you.
Very well put, Anne. What Anne is saying is we are spending 5 billion shillings to import rice. If we grew that rice here, we wouldn't need the foreign exchange to import it. It's as simple as that. And that 25 billion shillings will be available to our farmers. That is the plan of Kenya Kwanza. So we are doing 3 things in one. We are growing jobs, we are growing our tax base, and we are saving on foreign exchange. So that's really the big plan. I think I didn't communicate it properly, and that's why Anne was trying to help me. So that's good. Can we listen to my good brother, our deputy captain? You have 2 issues, the police homicide and we have security killings.
Thank you, Your Excellency. First and foremost is to congratulate you on your very able delivery of our agenda. Umecheza kama wewe. Secondly, is to confirm to the people of Kenya that what our leader has delivered today is a culmination of a consultative process with the people of Kenya, and all the issues that have been proposed here are a product of the priorities raised by the people of Kenya. And indeed, even the police interventions is a very wide consultative process with the police, chini ya maji, because if they talk to us in public, they would have been sacked. So all the interventions that have been made here has been a very wide consultative process. We have very serious homicides across the country and security breakdown because, first and foremost, the police service is demoralized. For the last 10 years, nobody has bothered about the police. The last time their allowances and their salaries were reviewed was the time of President Mwai Kibaki. Yet, the cost of living has really hit our police officers to an extent that in the police lines, every month, there are policemen shooting each other or killing themselves because of depression. The policemen, we must empathize with them because they feel very bad because they have been totally misused and nobody has bothered to think about them. Monies meant for criminal intelligence by the DCI has been held at the office of the president by the accounting officer, and this is money that now will be free once we get an accounting officer for the police service, for the National Police Service. They'll have money for criminal intelligence. There is a fund at the office of the president controlled by the accounting officer there. That fund for the last 5 years is what has been diverted to fund the BBI, to fund the Azimio campaign, and build hotels for that accounting officer across the country. And this is money now that will be available to the police. and that will create an enhanced efficiency, because it is money that is confidential, it is not audited, it is not accounted, and the police can use it to buy information. So we want to assure the people of Kenya that the police themselves, by the way, let us understand them. In fact, they are willing to be good people. This money they collect on the road, they collect because sometimes they have no food. Sometimes they say they are told to escort money from a bank, 200 million, and themselves they don't have 10 shillings in the pocket. Sometimes being human beings can be very tempting. So we are saying that within the first 100 days, we will review their terms of service, pay them well, and in return they have agreed. In return, they have agreed to reciprocate and be good people, so that we can have a friendly police service, like we have in the first world, where the police protect business, not harass business. We are giving an example, and many people think it's not doable, that in the fullness of time, after we review their terms and we agree with them that they need to change their attitude, that Kenyans are not their enemies, they need to protect them, their life and property. We will reach a situation in a year or so where when the police officers find you at night on your way home, probably you have taken one or two to try to get some sleep. If they put you in a Land Cruiser, they don't take you to the police station, they take you home to your wife. That is the situation we are looking at. And we want to assure our police officers and the prison warders that their cry has been heard by the Kenya Kwanza principles. And even among the recommendations that shall be implemented is their request that all non-commissioned officers, that is senior sergeant downwards up to the constable, at the age of 50, if they want, they will be allowed to serve in their home counties so that they can prepare for retirement near home. So we are looking at a good situation progressively, where we allow the police to do what they are paid to do, and they are saying, even the police themselves, they feel bad that they have been misused to arrest people who have committed no crime, to plant evidence on people who have done nothing, and they are saying once they get the financial independence, they will be able to operate freely and independently. And finally, on the public service, we want to assure our civil servants across the country, their cry has been heard about career progression, that officers would want career civil servants to rise from the point of entry to the highest level in the civil service, including being the head of the public service. Because they cry that they are demoralized, because they don't grow beyond a certain position. Other people come from the private sector and then they stagnate at certain grades. So we want to assure the public service that your time is now, work hard, stay focused, and you can grow from an assistant secretary cadet all the way to a principal secretary. You can grow from an accountant to the accountant general. You can grow from an assistant engineer to the chief engineer roles. So once that is settled, I think our public service will be well motivated and their morale will be boosted and will have productivity for the people of Kenya. And we are asking the public service that the people of Kenya want less and less government into people's lives and more services to the people of Kenya. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you very much. I think I have nothing useful to add. Except to say that we will also free the public service from being political or from being used politically. We will want a professional public service that serves all Kenyans irrespective of their political affiliation. And we will run our politics as politicians and use politicians to run our politics and allow chiefs, assistant chiefs, county commissioners, assistant county commissioners, regional commissioners to serve all Kenyans equally. The current situation where these public officers are being abused and used, sometimes against their own will, to run political errands will come to an end. Political errands will be run by politicians. The public service will deliver services to Kenyans, government services to Kenyans, fairly, without political undertones. I think we have answered all the questions.
Port.
Kuria.
Port.
About the port.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for asking me the most controversial question. But I'm sure you have asked me because you are aware that I was fired as a Vice Chair of the Transport Committee because of asking questions.
Yeah, I knew you were in the Transport
related
Committee.
Our transport and infrastructure sector, which is one of the sectors that has been bedeviled by an animal known as state capture. It started with the takeover of our ports, berths number 20 and 21 in the port of Mombasa, and giving it to a foreign company by the name of Mediterranean Shipping Company. We were promised that we will get 10,000 seafarers trained and hired by that company. After it was given away, not a single job, not a single Kenyan has been hired for these jobs. We saw it further with a skewed budgetary allocation. When we talk about moving the port of Mombasa to Naivasha, to private land of some people, that is the epitome of state capture. We saw it further in the aviation industry, which you have touched on, the attempts to merge Kenya Airways with Kenya Airport Authority and creating a behemoth that was supposed to create a big enough balance sheet for some people to be able to continue leasing their aircraft to Kenya Airways, which we know. So I've got good news and bad news. The bad news is that it's true that there are reports that the port is gone. The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and the team elaborated on this yesterday, and only then did our Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury attempt to respond to it. So I have reasons to believe that the port is gone. That's the bad news. But the good news is that within the first 7 days of the Kenya Kwanza administration, we shall reverse all that. And we shall institute investigations into all the market deals, including registering companies abroad and pretending that they are foreign owned. We are going to lift the veil of incorporation to identify the ultimate beneficial owners of these companies, including the so-called local partner for the Nairobi Expressway, which you know very well. They are people. It is done by people who are in this government who accuse other people of corruption, and they pretend to be cleaner than Caesar's wife, but they are actually rotten and they are mired in corruption. So I want you to ask Your Excellency, ukishindwa na mtu wa kufanya hiyo kazi, niachia watu nitanyorosha. And let me touch on something that slightly unrelated. Somebody asked about the Hustlers Fund, which is very close to my heart. And somebody asked whether this fund is going to be available for people in Northeastern and our Muslim brothers. Within the Kenya Kwanza team, economic team, we've got a certain experts, one with 20 years local and international experience on banking matters and financial matters, And two, who is also an expert in Islamic banking, who is going to work to ensure that even our Muslim brothers access this fund. And that gentleman is known as Moses Kuria. Thank you very much.
And it's not a joke that Moses Kuria actually is an expert in Islamic banking, because he has been in the banking industry and he is a worthy professional in that field. So I think we have made we have answered all the questions. We have already committed ourselves to ensuring that all the port operations that were removed from Mombasa on day one, we are going to reverse and make sure all port operations go back to Mombasa. That commitment we have already made.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. The questions still won't stop coming, but I think we have to come to bring this to a close. And we should have, I think, the next few days to read the manifesto, then ask more questions from an informed position. Okay? But there's still one. I'll just ask. It's okay, it's okay. I'll just ask three more burning questions. One from there.
Good evening. Good evening, Your Excellency. My name is George Mwangi. I'm a freelance photojournalist based here in Nairobi. My question is, what's your plan for the film sector and filmmakers as a whole?
Your Excellency, if you allow me, I'll follow up with two more. One from a lady up here who says, you mentioned of the plan to organize the big percentage of the uncollected plastic waste. My question is, what project will Kenya Kwanza bring to make use of all this plastic waste? Current problems need current solutions. And then there's another question on, actually this is from online. Amran from Sunderland says, you mentioned, how do we expand Kenya's economic and commercial interests abroad as part of broadening foreign exchange? Bearing in mind, you also, President Biden has also talked about bottom-up. And then there's a question from CI, I think. Okay, we'll get you the microphone finally. We'll get you the microphone. We have to bring this to a close. We'll get you the microphone. And there's one more here. It's actually a compliment, Your Excellency.
Okay.
From Mandos. This is somebody we were with in the Nairobi Economic Forum. And Mandos is actually saying he's very happy. You can stand, Mandos, so that people see you. Mandos, and I was a witness. Mandos is actually saying he's very happy because his proposal on solid waste management has made it to the manifesto. And this is what we mean when we say this is a people-driven process and it's a manifesto that has been authored by the people. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you very much. My names are Eric Omondi, popularly known as Mandos. Going by my second name, it's obvious that I'm good in English, but I'll choose a language that will communicate to both the audience and the people I represent here. During the Economic Forum for Nairobi, I was invited by the Honorable Governor, Mr. Sachs there, and with my team from Nairobi, we laid out a very, very great program on how solid waste can be managed in this country. Today, I've got the belief, because even the incoming president told the incoming governor to stand up so that people can understand what he means by goodwill of the people who deal with solid waste. On that part, I say thank you very much, Chief Asla.
Thank you, Mandos. I remember you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember. On the matter of the film, as we wait for the other person to ask the question there, you've asked me about the film industry, what we're going to do about it. First, we will make sure that we will expedite the passage of the Creative Economy Bill. That Creative Economy Bill will actually give us the film fund, because therein, in the Creative Economy Bill, we have built in a fund. That fund will now make it possible for the film industry in Kenya, first, to ensure that you can have access to modern equipment. You can borrow money, hire, buy modern equipment to build our film industry. You can also, using the bill, it speaks to reviewing policies and charges across counties so that filmmakers are not charged levies and fees in this county and in the next county when they are making their films. We have also established a green channel for filmmakers who want to make their way to Kenya, because there have been impediments on matters to do with their equipment being confiscated at the airport, them not being allowed, being charged huge levies and fees. We are going to review all that so that it makes it much more easy for filmmakers to find their way to Kenya. Because in any case, once they are doing their filming in Kenya, they hire our staff, they eat our food, they sleep in our hotels, they spend their money here. I think that's a bigger benefit than the little fees we have imposed on filmmakers coming to Kenya. So, using the bill, my good brother, we will establish a film ecosystem that is going to make sure that filmmakers have the best environment to deliver on good quality products at rates that are reasonable. There was a question on?
I think that's it. That's it. I mean, thank you.
You asked me something else on?
On foreign policy. Yeah?
On?
Siaya. Siaya wasn't asked. But
Sorry.
Foreign policy, yes. Okay, let's try and get them a microphone.
Okay, let's get, there's a person called Siaya. Okay, gentleman is there.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Sen, I want to appreciate you and His Excellency the President. I'm Vitalis Ochieng. I'm from Ahero, a candidate for Ahero Ward, Nyando constituency, Kisumu County. I just had one concern over the production of agriculture. For one, in Kisumu or in Nyando, we are dying. One, we are having factories, sugar factories like Chemelil. We have Moroni and Miwani, which died long ago. I would wish to request or ask if what plan as the Kenya Kwanza we have for these factories, because the life is terrible. Even if somebody may think that Kisumu is okay, but Kisumu is no more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question.
Asante sana. Baba, mimi kwa majina naitwa Bernard Odinga, mimi ni candidate huko Rarieda constituency. Na mimi ni mfupi pia. Sisi kazi yetu ni kufua samaki baba. Kwa ajenda zako hatujasikia tutapata usaidizi namna gani kule Siaya. Kwa sababu baba, unaona mambo ya lake. Sisi tunateswa kule vibaya sana na watu wa Uganda. Hatuna security. Katika serikali yetu hii ya Kenya Kwanza, tutapata usaidizi namna gani baba? Baba, jambo la pili.
Okay.
Nataka kusema tena baba, sisi ni watoto wako kutoka Siaya. Wakati ulikuwa Kisumu nilikuuliza kuja Siaya, ulisema after December. Bado ninakuomba sasa kama candidate yako. Tafadhali, tuko Siaya, tuko na governor Siaya, tuko na women rep Siaya, tuko na makandidate wako wengi Siaya. Baba, kuja Siaya, hata kama ni kura moja tutakupea bwana.
Thank you very much, my good brother. We have a whole chapter on our interventions in the blue economy. And the blue economy We are, number one, we are establishing the whole blue economy ecosystem. Sawa Bwana Bernard. Ero kamano. So, my good brother Bwana Omondi, the last time we were in the economic forum in Kisumu, you remember very well the subject of the blue economy, what we need to do about interventions in the fishing industry, the kind of fishing gear, the cages, the cage production of fish, and we undertook that we are going to have a comprehensive plan on the blue economy that will leverage on the competitive edge that we have as a country and deploy even the Hustlers Fund to make sure that fishermen and people in that industry not only have access to cold rooms, but also processing facilities for our fish so that we can add value and stop selling our fish raw. So I think we have a plan there. And on your request that I visit Siaya, definitely I will visit Siaya. Definitely. I think we're done. So, good people. Oh yeah, on the interventions on Chemelil, Mohoroni, and Miwani. Let me tell you, what I said about Mumias and Nzoia applies to also those 3 other sugar mills because they are government-owned sugar mills. We will not only write off government debt, but we will also negotiate with all the other stakeholders who have loans, whether they are banks or the other institutions, so that we can pay off those debts, get the sugar mills free of debt, and now begin the journey to make them productive once again, the same way the other private sugar mills are productive. That is the strategy we have, so that we can continue to enhance the incomes of sugarcane farmers as we do for all the other farming communities.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I think we should bring it to a close now. And we'll have more of such sessions moving forward, hopefully, to talk more about our manifesto and the policies therein. I want to invite Honorable Rigathi Gachagua and Honorable Fatuma Achani as we help the Deputy President now present what we call the plan to the people of Kenya, the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. Okay, hold it. Yeah. A round of applause.
So check. Yes, hello, sound check. Yes. Wapi makofi na vigelegele. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto on behalf of the all Kenya.
And the manifesto is being presented to the people. Some of the people that participated in the bottom-up forums, the hustlers. We have Shosho Elizabeth and Saruni.
DJ.